Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swagglehaus. Thank you all so much for clicking on this link or clicking on this video or wherever you are and tuning into the stream here tonight, because we got a really great conversation in front of us here. I'm really excited for the guest that I have on tonight's show. He's been a YouTuber who is a big comic book collector, but recently has really delved deep into sort of the NFT VEVE comic book space, and he puts out a lot of amazing videos and content about it. And I really wanted to have a conversation with him kind of about the NFT market, because on our channel here, I've had videos where I've kind of talked a little bit about NFTs, but every time I do them, I feel like it's a very polarizing feedback that I get from everybody who watches the channel, because of course we're all more into the old school sort of comic book collecting thing, and so I think there's a lot of people that are not as interested in the VEVE NFT space. And that's kind of why I want to have Sleepyn Comics on to tonight's channel, so that we can kind of have a discussion, because, full disclosure on my end, like I think NFTs are pretty cool. And I think VEVE is pretty cool. I'm not like super, neck deep into that space. But I do genuinely like some of the stuff that's going on in that medium. And so I want to have a conversation where we talk about some of the positives, and I will try to bring up some of the, maybe the question marks that are also existing in this, NFT comic collectible space. And maybe too, we can kind of interact with the chat, and we can all, if you guys have some questions for, Sleepyn tonight, we can kind of have that conversation, because I do think it's a new space, and nobody really knows what's, where it's going, what's going to happen with it. And it's something that, tangentially relates to our favorite hobby, which is comic book collecting. So I figured it would be a worthwhile discussion. But let us check in with the chat here, just to kind of let people come on to the stream. We got Dan here, Dan Schwabel. Sleepyn is going to bring the heat or the fire. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like I said, I'm super excited to have him here on the stream tonight. Comics and Crypto Podcast. Very excited for this live discussion. Comics and Crypto Podcast, I believe, has actually put out some good YouTube content as well, talking about crypto and or NFTs stuff. And so, this should be a good one for sure. We got Altman here. Can't wait to hear your perspective, gents. Well, Altman, thanks so much for stopping by, and hopefully we give some good insight into this space. Hodl Fandom. Sleepyn brings the best of both the NFT and physical collector worlds. Looking forward to this. I agree, Hodl Fam. I definitely agree. And that's one of the reasons why I want him to talk to us right here, because, he's got that Web3, Web2 brain. He knows both sides of the coin in this space. Vancouver Comic Junkie, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Woohoo. Larry here. What's up, Larry? Let's see, the bronze page. Hey to the chat. Yeah. Hey to the bronze page right there. AOA Showtime, baby. Yeah. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming by. Comics and Crypto again. Huge respect for Sleepyn Comics. Very excited for this interview. Yeah, me too. Zach here. Spicy one tonight. Yeah, Zach, it's going to get spicy. I mean, we'll see. Like, if you guys have thoughts in the chat, we'll definitely try to respond and answer them. STT Hands, with the crying face. I don't know if that's, you're just so happy that you're crying happy tears to see the stream tonight. But thanks for stopping by. Joseph Christian, can't wait for your Spec Collect Forget as well as the discussion. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Joseph. Yes, we will have this, first part of the show. We're going to talk about the NFT stuff. And then later on in the show, I'm going to put Sleepyn in the hot seat for, our favorite game that we like to do here on the live stream, which is, of course, Spec Collect Forget. And, I have some good slides I think I prepared for Sleepyn tonight. Some ones that, obviously we're talking about physical comics here, but, he can, pretend like maybe they're the NFT versions. I do have a slide that is specifically VEVE NFT related. So that'll be fun to see what he says here. Brick Hunter, NFT is for suckers. All right, well, let's see, Brick. This will be that's a good way this is what I want. I want to, challenge the conversation here, so that we can, really have conviction in how we feel about, this medium. SCNs, yeah, love you, Swag. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. I'm going to grab some popcorn for this one. Yeah, definitely grab the popcorn, grab a beer, grab a water, because we're definitely going to go into it. And then one of also the other things, before I bring Sleepyn on, one of the things that I do want to talk about too is this new sort of DC Comics Batman Cowl release. Because, obviously Sleepyn knows a lot about, the VEVE space, but now we see, some projects in the DC comic space, and they're trying to dive into the NFT world. And that is something that really does affect us comic book collectors, especially if you're someone who buys new comic books. So if you want to have us kind of talk about that, we're definitely going to get into it as well. Let's see here. Circumstances, what up, Swaggle? What up, Circumstances? Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. All right, well, I kind of think I've done my housekeeping. I've talked to the chat here, and we'll kind of like, let more people come on, but, excuse me. But I think at this point I've talked enough. Let's bring on our main guest here, who is, of course, Sleepyn Comics. And we got to give this guy a big round of applause as he makes his way onto the Swagglehaus stream. A little something like this. Sleepyn Comics, welcome to the Swagglehaus stream. Big round of applause. Thank you so much for hopping onto the channel.
Thanks for having me. It's great. I really am a fan of yours. I've watched a lot of your videos, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited to have you on once again. Again, for those who don't know, Sleepyn Comics, he's got a YouTube channel. I put a link in the description, his social and all that stuff. So if you are not familiar with his channel, definitely go check out his stuff, because I think you will really, really like it, especially if you, watch my YouTube stuff and, I enjoy the way that I make videos. I think that Sleepyn does maybe an even better job of what I aspire to be as far as a YouTuber is concerned, because I feel like, he brings sort of a mindfulness to collecting, and also, helps talk about things in sort of like, he doesn't tell you what to get, but he helps you form your own decisions in what it is that, you may want to buy, specifically in the VEVE space. So definitely, Sleepyn, thank you for hopping on the channel. And yeah, like you do a great job. I guess we should start there and just, maybe talk about you really quick, just kind of let the people know, about your channel, like maybe how you started, how you got into the YouTube space, and kind of what your channel is overall.
Sure. No, once again, thanks. I really appreciate it. So I've been collecting comics, and I just collecting a lot of crap. That's kind of what we are.
Yeah.
Some statues and other things. And I did some collecting as a kid, but I really didn't have enough money to do a lot of it. So I read some comics at my friend's place. And but really got into it maybe 5-7 years ago, really back into it hardcore, started reading a lot. And so about a year and a half ago, I watched so many great channels, and I was like, hey, maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring. And for me, it's just kind of I really like to try to experience everything when I have a hobby. So like, for example, pressing my own comics, cleaning my own comics. I've destroyed some comics doing that, but I was so interested. I wanted to try it. I watched a bunch of videos on it. And so just kind of, doing that, grading comics, going to convention. I try to do it all. I'm super interested in experiencing that. And I felt like Instagram was like my first foray into social media. I don't really know a lot about it. And then I had my Instagram account, and then I kind of moved to, hey, I'm going to try this YouTube thing. So I did, just talking about comics. I didn't really know, I talked about all kinds of stuff. I like Star Wars. I read a book. I read kind of a review of one of my books, or, I just kind of all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
And then about, I'd say in August of last year, so 6-8 months ago, I was interested in NFTs in that space, and I saw that they were now, doing licensed NFTs from Marvel, and they had these comics. The first one they came out with was Marvel Comics #1 and Amazing Spider-Man #1. I was actually more interested in the Amazing Spider-Man #1 because it's one I didn't own, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan, like I know a lot of us are. And so I was like, hey, this makes sense to me. Maybe I should try to buy this NFT. I'm a technology guy. I've been in the technology. I started like my first company when I was like 22, so I'm familiar with that.
Right.
And I was an early adopter of blockchain. So that whole blockchain cryptocurrency NFT world I wasn't really scared of. And so when it kind of crossed with comics, it made sense to me. And then I kind of jumped in.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting that you mentioned that, because I was going to kind of ask you, like, obviously a lot of us come from the collecting world, and we're, interested in collecting things, and we all have like our muses and stuff that we get into. But I get the sense that at least the people who, might be in the chat tonight, or the people who have watched my videos or commented and stuff, that, those who are maybe not as into the, VV NFT stuff, are people who aren't necessarily native to like crypto stuff or like tech stuff, or maybe, even for me, one of the reasons like I've been into it is because I've always played video games my entire life and been really into the video game world. So like I like it all, this digital equity that is your, online persona kind of like makes sense to me in that way. But I guess to that point, do you feel like having that background was one of the reasons why you felt so receptive to this thing? Like, is that it just made it instantly click for you in that way?
100%. I mean, and it's still, everybody always asks me, well, it's still, this is a, bleeding edge, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Maybe they all are worth nothing in another 10 days. We don't know, right? It's all speculative. It's just like, it's just like buying one of those new comics that we don't know the character, right? It's speculation, right? We're taking a gamble on it. You're using some of your past knowledge to assist you in making that decision. And then for me, like I said, because I was into blockchain and Bitcoin, I was actually mining it down here in my basement. I had a bunch of servers for fun. Once again, it was all for fun. Most of the things I do is just for fun because I get curious about things.
Nice.
And so there's different hurdles I think you have to get over whenever you're going to invest in any market that's highly speculative. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's, whatever it might be. Maybe it's you're investing in a company, they have some sort of new medical software, whatever it might be. So you have to look at your various background, skills, knowledge, and do your own research, as they always classically say.
Right.
And so because I at least had gotten over the blockchain hurdle, and I one of the biggest advantage I think for comic book collectors, physical ones, is that they already understand that collectibles can be worth a lot of money and go up in value. Like there's a lot of people that I talk to and I'm like, yeah, I have I have an Incredible Hulk #1 and it's worth a lot of money. And they're like, what? That's impossible. Why would a comic book be worth more than $5?
Right.
So both of those hurdles I had already been able to get over. That collectibles can be worth a lot of money, especially if they are connected to an established brand and connected to an established character or IP. So that we all know that every comic book, I bet you everybody in your chat here is like, I understand that, but a lot of people don't because they don't collect anything, or they do, but they don't really. So, and then of course there's the hurdle of the crypto and NFT piece. And so I was able to get over those two. And that's where I see people really struggling. And then there's the last piece of it, which actually has nothing to do with crypto, comics, or anything. It's investing in highly speculative markets. I've done that multiple times in my life. Sometimes I failed and sometimes I won, but I am at ease with that and understanding that, and able to kind of navigate those waters. Know kind of how much money I should put in, how much I should, those types of things. And so when you add those three things together and you're a new user and you're like, I don't understand collecting, I don't understand NFT or blockchain, and I don't understand how to invest in a highly speculative market that like swings back and forth. One day it's literally going to go out of business and the next day it's the hottest market and everybody and their brother wants to get into it. If you're not used to that, it's a rocky road.
Yeah. No, that is a good point, because like before I ever had VV NFT stuff, I've had crypto for, I got into crypto originally in like 2017 or so. Like not 2017, no, 2018 was the first big boom, right? And then I had heard about it, and that's really when I got into it. But I'm used to seeing those crazy swings, so like they don't concern me in the same way. But I want to go back into one thing you were saying, which was like the collectors understand like that an Incredible Hulk 1, for instance, is like valuable. And they would get, you know, they might hear someone be like, what, how could that be worth, you know, $50,000 or whatever? Like, what do you think it is about VEVE right now that maybe collectors just don't like? What is it about like that their mindset that you feel like why do they reject this space so hard? Do you have a sense of that in any way? Do you ever get, you know, people talking like on your videos or commenting and being like giving productive feedback about like, oh, this is like complete trash or whatever? Or like, do you have any thoughts on that?
So you mean VEVE collectors thinking that physical comic books are trash?
Sorry, I meant the other way. I'm curious why maybe traditional comic book collectors are hesitant about trying out a space like this, and if you have any insight into that.
I think it's the digital aspect. I mean, one of the things that I really love about collecting comics, because I work in software and I've done that since, you know, I was very, very young. It's so fun to work with something that's tangible and physical. Like I also have painted miniatures and done a lot of things with my hands and physical things. I don't really make anything. I'm fairly useless, but I do like doing things that are physical and collecting my comics and putting them in the right. Bags and putting them in the, there's something fun about that, getting the full run and making sure that all the comics are in the right order. And so I think that if that's kind of your jam, then digital is going to be really weird because you're not touching anything. It's that weird thing where you can't touch it and it's new and you add up all those things. I don't think that they see it. And that's okay. You know, I always say to people, I really don't try to sell anybody on NFTs or crypto or anything. Right. You do what you want. And if you have some questions, I can help you, but you know, you do whatever you want. It's all fun. We're all having fun.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. That makes sense to me. So I guess to that point and kind of transitioning into the next thing about it and just specifically talking about VEVE, like, I guess I feel like when VEVE first came out, you know, had this like initial launch into the scene and people were kind of talking about it. And then all of a sudden it just like skyrocketed. Like everybody was talking about it. Everybody kind of knew what it was. Everybody was, you know, posting on my Instagram of like, oh, I picked up this, I picked up this. And then I think kind of like maybe some other markets like the stocks and even comics to a degree and everything like that, things kind of cooled off a little bit. And now we're sort of in uncertainty. Like, where is this market right now? And like, what is your sense of like where VEVE comics are and what's, you know, kind of been the trends in the space that you felt so far?
So it definitely had that huge run up and then it's fallen way back. So for example, you know, there were comics that I had that, you know, I might've bought for 20 and they moved all the way up to like the floors were like 150. And now they've moved back to like maybe 70. So they, you know, I'm still in the profit, but you know, it's come back a lot. And I feel like some of the initial kind of energy around it really isn't there, but that's okay. I mean, as with all these things, I think it just takes time. There's this huge, if you're in the VEVE community, a lot of people, if you're in the Twitter spaces or talking to people, they'll always have this thing like, oh, we can't wait till the real comic book collectors are here because they're going to buy everything and spend all this money. Right. And Comics and Crypto, who also is a really another great resource and has a great channel and does a lot of stuff. He and I talk quite a bit. And we think that anywhere between 5 to 10% of physical comic book collectors are kind of in VEVE right now. Some of them might, you know, have bought a lot of comics and some are just dabbling, maybe bought a couple of them. And I don't know, like, I wouldn't think that number would go from 5 to 10% to 90%.
Right.
You know, that's, I would think, you know, when it's, you know, I don't know if the term would be matured, or I think it might be, you know, 30%, 40% at its max. I just don't think, you know, for all the reasons we just discussed. Right. I do think that it's a game of a different style of collecting, and you can do both and enjoy both because they're so different.
Right.
It's kind of like I remember when I only bought cover A's. Like, I'm only buying cover A's. These variant ones are trash. Right. But I kind of like some of the covers. So then you start to kind of buy some of the variant covers, and then you kind of do both. You collect cover A's, and I think maybe it's not the exact type of, but you see what I'm saying? I think you can do both.
I see it as different spaces as well. And actually, I kind of want to ask you, like, in who watches your videos and when they're commenting on it, like, do you get the sense that the people who watch your channel are comic book collectors who are like VV and NFT curious, or do you get the sense that these are kind of like NFT crypto people who are now kind of comic curious, or is it both?
I think I mean, if I had to guess, it's probably 80%, 90% of people are already immersed in VV. They don't know much about comics. And so they're coming to my channel to be like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more about this guy's, practices and how he collects things, and which are the best comics that I should kind of go after. I mean, in a simplistic view, I think that's really what they're looking for. I've done a couple, and I want to do more videos kind of discussing kind of if you are interested in VV and why you would do that and how you would do that for comic book collectors. And so I want to do more of those types of videos. And really, even being on your channel here is me being able to explain some of my thought processes behind it.
Right. Well, so are the people like, because I'm interested in this. It's like I get the sense that, like, and we talked about this like even before we started the show, that for those in the chat right now, like Sleepyn mentioned to me that, like, you can see, when you have a YouTube channel, you can see your analytics, you can see who watches it, and the bulk audience of people, as far as the age range is concerned, is between what, like 20 to 30? Is that kind of
younger? Much younger than it was when I was just doing physical.
Okay, so yeah, 20 to 30. My audience, the bulk of who watches the videos here on the channel, is between 35 to 50, right? So I think that right there could just be pretty telling as far as like who are the audience and who's watching. My question to you is, like, I guess from these people who are, maybe they're younger, they're getting into this and they're seeing these VV NFTs and they want to learn more about the comic books. What is it about the medium that you think that they like? Like, why wouldn't, some 20-year-old want to just find a Daredevil one, but why would they be more willing to spend, the money on the NFT? Where I'm kind of leading this question though is like, I wonder, is the barrier to entry into comic collecting really difficult for people, whereas the barrier to entry into VV collecting is really simple, especially if you're young? Like, is that something that is a part of this equation?
I think it is. I think it's
interesting.
But, and then I want to make sure I add that a lot of people that have started in VV are now going to comic book stores and buying physical ones and really enjoying it. And I get
that's interesting.
DMs about that all the time. But let me just try and answer your question here. It's a very interesting one. Is that, in my mind, this is my perspective, 90%, maybe even 98% of people who get into VV and NFTs, it's because they want to make money. It's an investment.
For sure.
It's like, do I invest in Amazon or do I invest in NFTs? Now, we can debate that all day long with people smarter than I, where you should put your money. But that's what initially drives people into VV or any of these NFTs that you can buy in a variety of different places. You don't have to buy them on VV. You can buy them on OpenSea. There's a million places you can buy NFTs. The thing that I try to say to people about the VV NFTs is, number one, they are licensed from, well, let's just use Marvel in this example, but they have a variety of different brands, from Disney to Star Wars to these independent artists. In other words, they have a relationship, and that particular person that said, I am licensing these NFTs, opposed to some sort of, one that somebody made up and some other, that's an unlicensed one.
Right.
And so that combination of the, much larger company having a relationship with VV that really forms the value.
Yeah.
So then what happened is that, if you just pretend you're like, I'm interested in this NFT space, I'm going to invest in NFTs. I think they're going bonkers and I want to make them $1 gazillion. So they're like, I'm going to buy, and I'm going to say something it's going to sound terrible, but I'm just going to say, do I invest in this picture of a rock that I've never even heard of on OpenSea? Right. Or do I invest in the first appearance of this guy named Peter Parker, the first Amazing Spider-Man, who I just went and saw his movie and it was great. And this is the first appearance of this on this new digital medium called the blockchain. And I think, you know, and obviously thousands of people have made that choice, and that's why the prices are what they're at.
Yeah. Well, that actually, and that's for me. So I bought a Spider-Man statue, but I have the rare one. You know, I wasn't willing to spend $400 at the time because to me that was like, I'm not going to spend $400. But I bought one because in my mind it was like, look, I could buy a, you know, JPEG of a rock, or I could buy, you know, crypto kids, or I could buy crypto kittens, or I can get into like the, you know, the apes community or all that stuff, or I could have like what is undeniably the very first Marvel NFT of Spider-Man, right? And even with the low fidelity of it, even with like, you know, whatever, maybe in the future when we're all living in, you know, Ready Player One world, and we have like, I literally have like an AI Spider-Man who talks to me. Like, even when we get to that level, nothing will ever take away the fact that this thing was the very, very first Spider-Man NFT. And if the logic is, you know, we in the comic book community collect first appearances and that's what is valuable, then to me, it's like, it doesn't actually matter. I mean, like, a lot of people think Silver Age art or Golden Age art looks terrible, you know, compared to today. It's like, that doesn't mean that they're not valuable. So that is, I think, is an interesting point about it, that is so interesting. And I would agree that I think a lot of the NFT projects kind of get lumped together and are extremely, obviously, speculative. People are trying to make money. You can call some cash grabs. You can call some crap. Maybe some are really, really good. Who really knows? The one thing that I kind of liked about VEVE was that it is attached to this IP that I think is timeless. So, you know, maybe our crypto kittens, you know, no one like, is crypto kittens, or is the, you know, NFT, like, what is it called? Billionaire Yacht Club apes or whatever.
Or
are they going to,
yeah.
Are they going to have an MCU franchise like 10 years from now? Probably not. And for that reason, I don't know if pop culture is going to continue to hold up their, you know, like their relevancy, like, into the world. I mean, they might, but, you know, that's my feeling. Whereas I think the IP is really attractive to me. But anyways, yeah.
I would say that, okay, so first of all, I think there's a lot of misnomers, and I'm not going to give a big, you know, explanation on blockchain and NFTs. There's a million videos people can watch, and those people know more and can explain it better than I can. But I think there's a lot of misnomers even about understanding what blockchain is, how it works.
Yeah, I think we got to talk about Brick Hunter's thing here, because I think the screenshot idea is something that, like, you know, I think is the joke that gets thrown out a lot. Yeah,
Brick Hunter's a great guy, I'm sure, or great woman, and 10 times smarter than I am. But I'll just say that in understanding how blockchain technology works and the significance of how it is decentralized, and of course these ones are licensed from the specific brand, that's not valid. You of course can take a screenshot, but it's invalid. You wouldn't, there's no way to prove ownership, etc. That's where because why did this NFTs not, why were they not created, you know, I'll just make it up, 3 years ago? You could take screenshots and make JPEGs and make dancing Spider-Man 3 years ago, right? Why now? What has changed? That would be my question to you.
Yeah.
And once you do that research, you will know and understand how the blockchain technology allows you to have true digital ownership. It's really interesting. And of course, it's going to change the world. At least that's what I think. And I could be wrong, but I think it's pretty crazy. But
the analogy I use, I mean, like the ability that you can literally prove that you own the thing is really the difference. It's like the same thing. Like, if I have the real Mona Lisa and I have an exact replica of the Mona Lisa, right? Like, you could say, like, well, it's like taking a JPEG. You can just take a JPEG of the Mona Lisa, the same idea. But it's like knowing that it's like, no, I own the thing that is officially marked as the official license of
and the blockchain is the receipt.
The ledger. Yeah.
It's the receipts. And then the blockchain is immutable. You can once again, do research into that, understand why it's immutable. It's decentralized. It's copied to all the different servers around the world, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, we won't need to get into that. That's technical babble that everybody will fall asleep on. But it is, I think, once again, that was when I got involved as a collector, the comic book collector, you know. So like I bought Amazing Fantasy 15. It's back here somewhere. Huge investment for me. Big deal for me. Kind of the holy grail for me of comics. And, why would you do that? Of course I'm a collector, but it's also understanding the significance of that comic and that Spider-Man might be the biggest brand in the world. Some people think it's, bigger than Apple, Coca-Cola, whatever. They might be right. I would agree with them. But that's so when you look at that and the power of brands and how difficult it is to build one, especially an elite one, like, you look at all the brands in the world that have taken, 100 years to develop. NFTs, with their ability to prove who owns them, have been able to create brands within 12 months. Creating a brand in which then you can build a company off of is very, very, very difficult. And so that in itself is how businesses, and that's not even the main reason for NFTs. I really don't believe that. But when you talk about the Bored Ape Yacht Club and some of these other ones, that is what people have missed out on. And now a brand, which is such a weird word, is literally in the digital world is one of the most powerful ways to take advantage of and run a company.
Yeah.
So perfect example would be your brand. You know what I mean? You've worked very hard on your brand over the last year and a half, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, how long you've, and people know who you are. You're a credible person. And you see what I'm saying? It's already, you have established yourself in this niche, as one of the leaders. And so it's so powerful now, and it allows you to do different things, help people, etc. But it took you a year and a half, and you have got to, of course, protect your brand. It's just like any other company, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that when you're looking at some of the NFTs, and that's just the beginning of that, I do think the ability to build brands very, very quickly is something that NFTs are used for. Now there's 100, once again, if you go watch a lot more videos that, people are a lot more smart than I talk about NFTs and where they're going to be used in the future, from ticketing to real estate to wherever. And all that's coming down the pipe very quickly. It's going to help, in the medical, but whatever. Okay. Licensing, but we really need that technology to be immersed, just like the internet. Like the internet allows all this as possible. Like you and I are talking to the internet. I'm so old enough, I remember when the internet didn't exist, and people talked about the internet exactly the way they talk about blockchain. But now it just helps us. We don't even care. And so that will be how blockchain works, the various blockchains in the world. And so then the question comes back to, with all these things that we know, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, do you think it's valuable to own the first appearances of those in that form? And I did. That's why I bought them, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you on that. Brick. I want to shout you out here because I think it's good to I don't want to be too rose tinted goggles with NFT stuff here. But you said, what can you do with it? Can you have an exhibit? Because I'm sure the real owner, aka Marvel or DC, would have an issue. I think the idea is are NFTs right now kind of layman and what you can do with it and how you can view it and how it exists within, the real world and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the most idealized version of what it could be one day is one day, maybe we're all going to be in Ready Player One and I can open up my, ASM #1 that I own as the digital comic and I can read it, in that world. I think that that's the most idealized way of what it could one day become. And what makes it kind of interesting is the fact that what you're getting right now is presumably those are going to be the assets that, build into whatever that kind of metaverse ends up being. Is that kind of how you feel?
No, I'm with you. And I think and I don't even think we understand it all. We don't even know.
Yeah,
how
totally.
It's used. And, they always talk about different, the term in back in my older days, we would be like, how is it going to provide true value? That was the term that in the business they'd always say. Now the term that they always use a lot that I hear out is it needs utility. So for example, I'm just making up something. This is not true, but what happens? They were to say, if you own one of these Spider-Man, you automatically get to come to, the next Spider-Man movie and get free tickets to the movie. Or something crazy like that, Marvel would. So that would, now the collectible is fun to have, and you have the first appearance of Spider-Man, but it gives you these quote unquote additional pieces of value or utility, like they said.
Yeah.
And so I think that one of the VEVE, one of the other ones that they have a lot of NFTs is Disney characters. So they have, Donald Duck and all these other, and the really iconic one is Walt Disney holding Mickey Mouse's hand. And so that statue is in front of some of the parks. A lot of people like to go to the parks, and when they're there, they have that statue in AI and they take pictures with it and do all kinds of other stuff that's fun. If that NFT, not only is it fun and you take pictures with it, but once again, allows you to go to special places in the park, allows you to get in for free, some of these other things that we don't know, certainly that will be valuable. And we don't know, that's questionable. What I do actually think is going to happen, and it's already been stated many times, is that all these companies are creating their metaverses. Once again, we don't know what that is, but there's a good chance that Disney does something unbelievable, whether it's kind of like a World of Warcraft scenario. I used to play World of Warcraft, so that's what I think of when
me too. Yeah.
So you go in there and you're going to the different parks or whatever, and it's fun and you're doing stuff with your friends. It's probably, and it's, like a mobile game or whatever. And you get special things if you own these NFTs. That seems like it's highly possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, and that's a good little segue, because I think I wanted to ask you about this and your opinions on this, because I think this is something that we can all kind of talk about, even just in the traditional kind of comic book collecting community. Like, we all know about digital comics, right, guys? Like Marvel Unlimited, Comixology, these sort of websites. And like, for the most part, these things have really not caught on. Like, some people use them, some people read digital comic books. And my thought, and I'd love to hear everybody in the chat if you guys have opinions on digital comic books. My thought is, one of the reasons why it hasn't really caught on is that there's no collectability in it. Like, I think it's cool to read the comic, and maybe it's actually even better way to read the comic, because actually sometimes reading on your iPad's a little bit easier.
That's how I do it. I have a subscription to Marvel Unlimited, and I read comics this way
right. But I think one of the things that is interesting about what, maybe it's not VEVE, right? Maybe that's not the medium that this ends up being, but how would you guys feel about digital comic books if you knew that there were a limited amount? So if a new comic book came out, on New Comic Book Day, and it's like, Tosin Aduye, first appearance of the next Black Panther guy, and his comic book's out there, and you could own the digital version of it, does that change anything for people in the, digital comic book space?
I would add that I would say then, well, how do you guarantee? It's it's the same deal, right? It's a JPEG. How are you going to guarantee that I own it? Because before the last 2-3 years, with advent of blockchain and NFT technology, you could not. That's the shift. That's the change. Now, internationally, there's recognized as technology that you can buy things digitally. They mint them. They go onto the blockchain. Once again, I don't want to get into all the tech, but you are owning it. And not only do they recognize that in China, Australia, New Zealand, United States, UK, and literally everywhere. That is the significance, right? Because of course, if I have the physical book, so that's really that's where the technology has taken us to a different place.
Yeah.
And that's why it's exciting. Once again, is it is it all going to blow up and implode?
Yeah. Look, again, at the end of the day, all of this is speculative, and I've bought a few just because I think it's kind of fun. And I'm not trying to be like the person here who's like, guys, we all got to get VEVE NFTs. I'm just having an interesting discussion about it. And so, Brandon, to your point, yeah, absolutely. You could, like, if we lived in a metaverse, you could totally have the JPEG, but the only difference would be like I own the Rolex watch and you own the knockoff. Like, that would be the way we could do it. Even if they look identical, exactly the same, just the knowledge that this is the real thing and the thing is the JPEG is the difference. And again, maybe for you, you're like, that's stupid. Who cares? And yeah, I think for a lot of people,
there will be things in place and technologies that will prevent it, though. So for a prime example, and you're already seeing this, because if you in Twitter, and I think YouTube has said that they're going to do something with it, and Instagram, if you have some of these NFTs and you want to display them as your profile pic, and it's not, and they go and look on the blockchain and you don't own it, they won't allow you to do it. So you can see that the technology is already starting to enter and weave its way into things. So let's move it forward. So let's pretend they have a World of Warcraft type scenario, and you like have your house or whatever, this is craziness, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, you know what, I'm just going to take a JPEG of Amazing Fantasy 15 and put it up here. The technology might not allow you to, because they can see that you don't own it. So that's where it's kind of goofy, and it's going to go to a different place, I think, that we don't quite know yet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also one of those things of like, again, taking the screenshot, and I don't personally understand like the argument when people are like, well, why don't you just take a screenshot? It's like, well, if I took a screenshot of Sleepyn Comics AF-15 behind him and posted on my Instagram and said AF-15, like that I still don't own the book. I understand that's not a perfect analogy because you're talking about a physical thing, but that is presumably the same idea, right? Where it's like, well, if I can have access to this thing versus actually knowing that I own the thing. Again,
and it's these unknown value propositions that as the technology matures that we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
Having an AF-15, really the comics, I don't really think they're going to have much more value than other than that's fun, to have. And you can, but some of these other things that we don't quite understand yet, like the Spider-Man NFTs, the Walt Disney one, the Mickey Mouse one, and they have other ones, they have the first Star Wars ones have already been minted, the C-3PO and R2-D2. We don't know how Lucasfilm is going to react to that. There's only 8,000 R2-D2s, and 10,000 C-3PO. So if you have the pair, there's only 8,000 people that have that. Do they allow you to do something and you get free tickets to come see the next Star Wars movie? Or most likely it will be something in the metaverse, because it's all that kind of weird Star Wars. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, let's transition to this little piece of news, and people, if you're in the chat and you have some thoughts on this, this is something that recently came out. I'll just kind of go over the headline, kind of frame it for everybody. So Batman NFTs officially announced as DC promises relevance to future comics. So I don't know if you guys heard this news. This was just like a couple weeks ago, but DC is launching these NFTs. Now, these are not VEVE NFTs. These are not in the same space that, Sleepyn has a lot of content about. This is DC doing their own NFT thing. You're going to be able to buy these cowls. And then, essentially what it is, you buy the cowl, presumably maybe what happens is like, oh, you get access to a free comic book, or maybe they're going to have some Discord server that you get access to. And it's basically a forum, or, maybe they're going to do things in the future where it's like, okay, you buy a Batman cowl, and then, you have access to this variant physical comic book, for the new Batman that is coming out.
I actually don't know a lot about these, but like, can you use AR and put the mask on?
I don't know.
I assumed when I saw them.
I don't know specifically that. I think it's going to be, you can buy these things. I don't know what their interface is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like on DC, Unlimited, the app, and you just kind of own it there, or like what the usability of it. But what it is going to be is that this is going to be like buying an NFT that allows access into additional comic book collecting stuff. So like, people in the chat, like, how would you feel about that? Like, what if it was like, okay, you're going to buy this Batman NFT cowl, and there's 10,000 of them, and if you have it, then you can get like this variant cover for the newest Batman comic that is like exclusive to only people who own this NFT. Like, I think that's where DC as a company sees, the opportunity in something like this.
And right now, I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to not be honest, dead honest, is that it's such a new space. I don't think any of these companies know what they're doing either. But what I do think is that they're able to sell some of these NFTs. People are buying them. Now, once again, is it because it's a cash grab? Is it because it's that? I don't know. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
And all these companies want to make money. I mean, that's what they do. And so I think that there are all these NFTs out there. 99% of them are probably, they're fun to have, but they're not going to be worth anything. It's like, I go buy some bobbleheads for fun at Target when I'm there, these Funkos.
Yeah.
I'm buying them because they're fun. I know you're not going to be able to sell this thing for $1, but it's fun. It might be a fun character or something like that. I think that's what a lot of these NFTs are.
That's a good question. I mean, do you feel like, some of what has maybe even hurt the ideas of NFTs is that, there's so much attention and rightfully so, because people are looking at NFTs to like make money or whatever, has so much attention been put to like the speculative financial part of it that, people kind of forget like, hey, you can just kind of own like a fun Batman cowl. That's like,
well, and that's I've talked about, kind of the different, like I said, I still think 90% of the people that are involved with NFTs, it might even be higher, they're just there for the money. They don't care about Spider-Man. They don't care about Batman. They don't care about, they're like, as soon as this thing reaches a certain target price, I'm selling it for the money. And that's, good, bad, whatever. But what's interesting is, since I've talked to a lot of people along the way, they do have all of the similar, I don't know, you want to call it ticks or whatever, that we do as comic collectors. They're like, I really wasn't into these comics, but I kind of like the covers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beginning, right? Now you're getting hooked, and who's the artist on this one again, Sleepyn? Oh, this is a Clayton Crane cover. Who's that guy? Well, let me show you that guy. You know what I'm saying? And they've been picking some interesting artists to do exclusive covers in VEVE, and people really like those. People are, watching the Moon Knight show. They just dropped Werewolf by Night 32 as an NFT. They didn't even know that comic existed. They bought it. Some of them are reading it. And so now you'll hear this. I bought 2 of them because I'm going to sell one and I'm going to keep the other because I think Moon Knight's kind of a cool character. Now you're on the road. That's the road that you and I are on. That's a road where, and that's an expensive road, because I know that road.
Yeah. That's interesting. I want to pick up on that, talking about Moon Knight, and we've been kind of talking about the macro space. I do want to talk a little bit more in the weeds of VEVE, if people are interested to hear about that. But last thing I want to address is Guardsy, because I think it's a good point. Like, your comment, I will never be able to accept the purchase of something I can't actually touch, hold, and appreciate in my own hands, instead of having the art of the picture of the art. Why? And that totally makes sense to me. Like, I totally understand that approach. My thing is, like, I wonder, the Guardsy, I don't know if you play video games, for instance, but like, have you ever bought a cosmetic item in a video game, for instance? Or like, have you ever played World of Warcraft and you got some cool whatever armor and you were like,
did you collect the mounts? And
you got that thing. Like, that to me is where the hang up of the idea breaks down for me, at least me personally. I totally understand if there's people who like still don't like want the physical thing, but I think, to the point we were talking about earlier with Sleepyn, your audience being a little younger, I think the gamer mentality of those people, it's like they just they don't care. Like, they feel their equity in this digital space, and to them it's it's still viable.
It's and once again, I'm totally cool. I have physical. Look at behind me. I'm in the physical comics. I go to the so I get that totally. And I used to be against grading comics, because I was like, why would I put them in this plastic thing? I can't even touch my comic. This seems ridiculous. Like, that like angered me. Of course, obviously my mind has changed for that, but I still have most of my comics. 99% of my comics are actually raw, and I'll keep them raw. I'll grade them maybe if I want to sell them, but I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm just trying to explain what the thing is, right?
And I apologize if I feel like I'm like pushing, because it's not. I'm just even to the chat, I'm just sharing kind of my thoughts, and we're just having this talk together. And I totally understand where everyone else is coming from. It's an interesting thing to talk about in that way.
I find it exciting from this perspective, is that because collecting is collecting. I love it. And I love Marvel characters. I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy.
Yeah.
But I like collecting. I have a lot of crap, but good or bad, I have a lot of crap. I collect a lot of crap, and most of it physical, obviously. And so I like talking to people about collecting things. The digital thing is a little weird, I have to admit, but I've really, like I said, my experience of that is really over the past 6 to 8 months. It's been a great experience. I've met a lot of people. They obviously have a different type, but what's been so interesting is how many people have bought the digital one and then they go and buy the physical. Now that's really with Daredevil 1. If you're going to go buy that physical, that could get a little rough.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck.
You know, but a lot like this Todd statue behind me, which is based off of the Batman, 423 cover. I'll get it here. So this is the first Batman NFT. Is this
right? The Todd McFarlane, the Batman 423 art turned into
the cover.
Yeah.
And so there's 5,000 of these statues, and then they made an NFT of it. And so all these people have the NFT, and then they're like, you know what? I actually want the statue. See, now they're going the opposite direction.
It's funny because I've watched a few YouTube channels that maybe they're kind of in your space where they specifically talk of VeVe NFT stuff. And I'll notice, their walls behind them. It's like, oh, hey, they got a Werewolf by Night 32 all of a sudden or whatever. And it's, and this is the younger audience. So it is interesting. I do think one of the silver linings in this sense is that I think this entry into comics for a lot of younger people has been a good gateway for them.
It's huge. And, they're asking me how to get a pull list.
Right.
What should I start to read? These are the standard questions that you always hear as people enter comic collecting. I don't know where to start. I don't know, what do I do? And, I'm sure you've helped a million people. I've helped people, and it's intimidating to go to a comic book store. They don't, do I start at the beginning of a run? Do I have to start all these things, right?
Yeah.
But once you get locked in, that's what we want them to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of those, I do think this will be kind of fun, I think, for even if you're in the chat right now, you don't care about VeVe NFTs and stuff. One thing that I think will be kind of fun is to talk about some of the NFTs comics that do exist. And I want to bring up, Sleepyn has a tier list that he's created on his website, VeVe Rank. I don't know if you created the website altogether or if this is you.
Yeah, no, I programmed the whole website.
Okay, well, there you go. Sleepyn, man of many talents here. But he created this tier list, and I kind of wanted to see, maybe we don't have to talk about all of it, but I do think it is interesting for people because one thing that I think is unique about what I see with VeVe and the NFT space, and everyone in the chat can think about this too, is that the comics that typically are like blue chip comics in the physical world, AF-15s, ASM-1s, Daredevil 1, things like that, those tend to be the most valuable VeVe comics as well. And I wonder, and so Sleepyn has this tier list here. Maybe we can kind of go through it a little bit, and you can maybe talk about some of the stuff. But I want to hear you talk about that. Like, why do you think the comics that are the blue chip sort of Silver Age and Bronze Age stuff are incidentally becoming the ones that are the most popular in VeVe as well?
I mean, I think they definitely are, especially with comics, because you can look at the physical counterpart. A lot of people, their edge, before they didn't know what gold collectors. They didn't even know what the grades meant. What's a 7.5? They had no clue. They didn't understand looking at a lot of these. Now, a lot of them are very savvy. They understand these types of things. So for the most part, the most expensive comics that we have in the physical form, because they have basically it's because they have an incredible first appearance, are then reflected in the NFT world. But there is a couple other interesting pieces of the puzzle, and one of them is the mint number, which would be
the scarcity. Yeah.
Yes. So
let's talk about this one first. This is your number one S tier comic guy. So ASM 252, of course, first black suit Spider-Man. You guys all know this comic is probably more expensive in VeVe than it is in real life. I haven't checked the prices recently, but is that true?
Yeah, it's like a $2,000 9.8 or something like that, I think.
Right. And what is the ultra rare price or the secret rare price?
The secret rare price is, unknown. There's only 40 of them. They're probably 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. I don't know. It's so rare that it's tough. We have comics like that, right? They're so rare. They're hard to, because they just don't go on sale that often. That's that comic. Now, why did they choose to only print 1,000 of those? I do not know. That's a decision Marvel made, but it's just kind of odd relationship. It's the first black suit. And I think NFT people, although they may not be really big comic people, they obviously know Spider-Man. They obviously know the significance of the black suit. And so they have put value on that particular comic. It's pretty interesting. I agree.
Right, right. Yeah, it's interesting that they only did 1,000. So this is one of the more valuable ones here. And then incidentally, Marvel Comics #1, which is like, Marvel Comics #1. You guys all know this book. Like has become kind of one of the main collectible comics because I think there's that history that it's the first, Marvel comic, but was also the first NFT comic, right?
Yeah. So how significant is that, and how awesome is that they did
Yeah.
that? Great choice. Good job, Marvel, or good job,
Yeah.
VEVE, whoever did it.
Really smart here. And I don't know. So is anything stick out to you? Like obviously we get ASM 1, Daredevil 1. These are all A tiers, Fantastic Four 1, FF 5, Marvel Spotlight 5, Ultimate Fallout 4. You kind of get into the B tiers here.
Ultimate Fallout 4, because obviously that is not a Silver Age.
Right. Okay.
And really it's not in a 9.8. What is it? $4,000 bucks? 3,600.
Yeah, like something like that.
So, I mean, it's just when you have Fantastic Four #5 there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or for that matter, Fantastic Four #1. But I think this is where NFT people, they understand Miles Morales. They understand the significance. They understand the speculation there. Now, if you go into the numbers in terms of how much it's worth, I think a secret rare of Ultimate Fallout 4 is probably worth about $3K. Right. And the Fantastic Four might be more, 4, 5, 6K. And the Fantastic Four #1 is 10K. So there is some variance there, even though in my little stupid tier list here, they're all tier A because I kind of jumble them together.
Right.
But,
and for those who don't know, like the way that they mint the comic, but like they do in regular comics, there's like a 1 in 10, a 1 in 50, a 1 in 100. Like there's variant covers, and obviously the ones that are like the 1 in 100 equivalent, which are called secret rare, are the most expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. And once again, creating that scarcity, which we see in comics, it's fun. It's interesting to see that they continue to do that. They're doing that again.
And so what my question to you is like, so do you feel like, because they'd had Avengers 8, which is the first Kang the Conqueror, there was only 10,000 that were minted as opposed to 30,000 for what you see with most of the other ones here. This one happened to have 70,000 stuff. Do you feel like the scarcity is the #1 driver into the value of these things? Or do you think that the prestige of the comic is the #1 driver? Like,
I think
what moves the market? Okay.
Because and then if you look deeper, there's like a couple of them, like some unknown ones that maybe had, 1,000 or 2,000 or maybe 10,000 printed, and they haven't performed well. Gotcha. And it's just like, so like, some people will be like, oh, this comic just came out. It's, Fantastic Four. I'll make it up. Some obscure Fantastic Four that has no first appearances. And it doesn't, it's $5. It's a $5 NFT. Right. And I always think to myself, it should be a $5 NFT. It should be a $1 NFT. I mean, it's just not that comic, even in the real world, there's a lot of, I always say to people, there's a lot of comics in the real world that people will not pay $1 for.
Right. And so going off of like what you mentioned with the Moon Knight, do you feel like the market moves in any way in terms of spec with the characters and what's going on? Like when we have Daredevil show up and Amazing Spider-Man, did it move, or does Moon Knight move? Like, no, it doesn't. Yeah,
it's not, and I don't know. I think it's because it's not a mature enough market. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Because you think it would. Now they're dropping it right in. They're, Marvel is smart, right? They're using their NFTs to help market and promote their shows. So the fact that they dropped, Werewolf by Night 32, a day, I think the day that Moon Knight came out or something around, I mean, it's not, they did it on purpose. You know what I'm saying? It's like they dropped Ben Reilly way back when they had Ben Reilly take over in whatever October in the Spider-Man, in the Spider-Man run. I mean, they're doing these things to try to help each other, which Marvel's smart. But so I think that we'll see. It's still an immature market, and people, I mean, like, for example, I'll just say Werewolf by Night has been around for so long. The people who bought it already had it that liked Moon Knight. The only thing that kicked it up was the fact that they announced the show. So it made sense because it had this long, whereas in the NFT space, it just comes out. It doesn't, there's maybe, let's just pretend next year they announced the Midnight Suns, crossover. Maybe that will kick it up. I don't know,
It's interesting because I do think, you know, and I've asked this question of similar things where people who are like, you know, big into Marvel cards and they do the Marvel card, you know, market and stuff. And I've asked them questions like this about like, hey, do you notice like, do Moon Knight cards sell when we have Moon Knight and things like that? And for the most part, the people who have their finger on the pulse for that market also said like, no, not really. It's still kind of like a Wild West. People don't really know which Marvel cards are the most prestigious. I mean, they're now starting to surface, but like people are still kind of looking for that stuff. And it'll be interesting to think about, like, I think the velocity and the movement in these mediums is kind of important for probably, you know, keeping the interest.
It's such an, it's the wild, wild west. It's like so many unknowns. There's just madness that we do not understand. I mean, the first NFT comic that ever came out was like, whatever, August or, you know what I mean? September. I can't remember, you know what I mean? So it hasn't even been a year. And then you think about comics. I mean, comics have been around forever. So, and a lot of these comics have been around forever. It's like, it's hard to make a determination on a comic that just came out yesterday. Plus the lineage and understanding of this market has been here for, you know, 100 years. So it's I haven't, you know, nothing surprises me. It's bonkers.
Who really knows? Gotta say what's up to Ultramax Aximus. What happens when an NFT server suffers an EMP attack? I mean, it's like one of those, what happens when your LCS burns down?
Well,
I guess we're all screwed.
Because the blockchain is replicated to all the different servers. I mean, you'd have to blow up all the servers in the world.
Yeah,
whatever.
That's true.
If you blew up a bunch of it, wouldn't matter because it's all things they're replicating. So you'd be okay. I mean, I don't know where the, you know, EMT attack of the entire Earth, I guess, would probably be a problem. A nuclear bomb that blows up everything would be a problem.
That would definitely put a hamper in our collectible hobby for sure. Well, I think, you know, we've kind of been going around with the NFT thing. We kind of had an interesting discussion here. I don't know, Sleepyn, you know, before we kind of move into, you know, the next stage of the show, which is going to be our Spec Collect Forget game. Do you have any other kind of just interesting thoughts, or maybe people in the chat, if you guys had any other questions about this NFT stuff, you know, while we have Sleepyn here, like, you know, what's your, I guess, overall thoughts on the market? Can you give me some sagely advice? Is this, I posed the question on the thumbnail, boom or bust? Like, what's your feeling overall on this crazy comic book NFT world?
I mean, I'm a biased guy, right? So I think it's gonna be worth something. Is it gonna be, oh my God, you know, $5 million a comic? You know, I don't know, you know. I think it's gonna be worth something. I think it's gonna mature. I think, you know, a lot of things could happen. You know, VEVE could go out of business. You know, we don't know, right? A lot of, you know, we don't know. I find these types of things interesting, so that's why I'm involved with it. But I would say don't sweat it. I mean, people are, you know, always, and maybe it's because they know where I'm from, but I'm always like, you know, if you hate NFTs, you don't have to ever, I'll never say the word to you, and you can just do your thing. You know, it's not, there's no, I don't think there's any threat here. There's nothing. It's just a thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, Rat Toys, I think for sure there's a lot of speculation. A lot of people are interested in the financial aspect for it. But again, like, I think if you're out there, it's like anything, you know, a lot of people get hot spec books because they're interested in flipping them. Similar kind of situation. So it's one of those things where, again, like, buy it if you kind of like it too. Maybe it's kind of exciting. Maybe it'll go up in value. That's kind of fun. But at the end of the day, like, make sure that it's something that you still really like, which has been my approach with it. Like, you know, I've bought like a few things, and I'm kind of excited if it, you know, the floor value goes up, but at the same time, I just think it's kind of fun. And that's really been my whole.
So here's my hot take. Now everybody's going to give me hate.
Okay.
I think, but once again, you can, you know, whatever. I'm just me, right?
No, yeah, AOA for sure. He's got.
Here's my hot take. My hot take is Marvel's making a bunch of money on it.
Yeah,
they make 8.5% on the transactions. They make a bunch of money on the drops, and this is not money that they ever thought they were going to get. So in other words, when they drop, they haven't made any money off of Wolverine by night 32 in a long time. Yeah, they just made, you know, a crap ton of money on that comic. And when people sell it back and forth in VEVE, they make 8.5%. So if they sell it for $100, they're making a, you know, 8.5%, $8.50, right? And so Marvel, because we all know Marvel, DC, all these comic book companies, they're, you know, it's not a high margin business. So they're going to be excited about this money. So here's my hot take, and here's where the hate's going to come. Is they know they're just going to keep basically reprinting books, put it on VEVE or whatever it might be, and they'll be making money. But I think they will say, what happens if we were just to announce that the next Iron Man series is only going to be NFTs on VEVE?
Yeah.
Now, they're not going to do that because there would be a riot. Okay?
For sure.
But what they might do is they'll say, we're going to announce a brand new character that we've never done before. So it's not going to make anybody mad about, Spider-Man or Iron Man or all the characters about Black Panther, all the characters we love. It'll be a completely brand new character that we will introduce and have their run, and it will only be available on VEVE.
Their first appearance will only be there.
And there'll be NFTs. Now, people will riot, but that is what I think they're going to do. So bring the hate. That's what I think.
Well, yeah,
because the money is too good.
Yeah, don't give them any ideas. If they can make money on the secondary market for comics, I definitely think that they will try to do so for sure.
Yeah, that's what I think they're going to do. I could be wrong, but the one thing that we know is Marvel likes money. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's move on to the next segment of the show. We got, 50 people in the chat right now. I'm going to need your guys' help here. Hit that like button for Sleepyn here, because we're about to put him in the hot seat for our favorite game here called Spec, Collect, Forget. Now, I do have some books on here that are going to be maybe, ones that are in the NFT space, but we're for the most part going to talk about the physical comic book versions here when we do our game. So let me ask you this, Sleepyn. Have you ever seen, me play Spec, Collect, Forget, or do you know about this game, or have you ever played Marry,
I've seen
Kill
you play it, but just tell me the 10 cents on it so I don't mess it up. I'll probably mess it up.
I'm definitely going to share the rules with you here, and I'm going to share it with anyone who is maybe, catching the VOD or anyone in the chat who doesn't know. But Spec, Collect, Forget is basically my version of Marry, Kill, right? Remember that game in high school? You play with Marry, Kill. You name 3 people, Rihanna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and you got to tell which one you'd want to have a one-night stand with.
I don't remember because I'm like, 5 times your age.
Well, let me think. Cyndi Lauper.
You still got to go way back. It's all good.
Okay. Well, we won't go there. But you name 3 people and you tell which one you want to, have that one night stand with, which one you want to marry, and which one you want to kill. So we're going to do the same thing here for ours, but it's going to be, of course, the comic book version. So in our instances, we have Spec, which, in this instance, Spec kind of means like, you're going to get this book and eventually you're going to flip it. You feel like this is going to go up in value. Maybe you're going to sell it at the trailer. You're going to have that one night with it and make some money. Collect is going to be the one you're going to marry, right? This is going to sit in the PC. You're going to hang it on your wall, like those beautiful comics behind you. And it's basically never leaving your sight. And Forget is going to be the one that you're going to kill. You're going to burn that thing. You're going to send it to Mephisto's realm, as I always like to say. And, you're going to take another one off this earth. And maybe by, destroying one, you'll increase the value because the scarcity will be that much more. So do the rules kind of make sense to you, Sleepyn, as far as that's concerned? Okay. And then chat, of course, I'm going to need your guys' participation here. Okay. This is very, very important. When Sleepyn makes his picks, you're going to put a 1 in the chat if you agree with his picks and a 2 in the chat if you disagree. Again, there's no wrong answers. There's no prizes here, but it's just sort of nice to get a sense of how the people felt about your picks. Let's get into round 1 here. And of course, we had a lengthy discussion about NFT comics here. And we saw that you had your tier list. And I thought it would be kind of interesting. We like to kind of slowly ease into things. But, I picked some 3 D tier list comic books here, 3 D tier comic lists, but all ones that are interesting books that have had a little spec value, maybe cooled off a bit, but let's talk about them here. And they're all kind of around the same price point. Of course, we have Amazing Spider-Man number 294. That's the Kraven's Last Hunt story, the famous Death of Kraven issue. We have Vote Loki number 1, which of course is a book that got really hot during the Loki show because we had, the presidential candidate of Loki in that. And then we have All New Captain America number 1. This would be the first kind of solo series for Sam Wilson Captain America, who effectively is our new Captain America as we speak right now. So Spec, Collect, Forget, Sleepyn. How are you feeling with these books here? These are all on your NFT detail list.
I'm going to collect, and this is easy for me, is the Mike Zeck cover because I'm a huge Mike Zeck fan.
Okay.
So that's just, You
Yeah,
know, I actually own
ASM.
that physical comic. So once again, this is not good for other people. This is just me. So I don't know if that'd be a valid one.
There's no wrong answers here. There's, you know,
Okay,
this is just your own opinion here.
yeah, and I do like Spider-Man, but you know that run is so iconic. So, but it's really, I love that cover. So now I'm not really a keen fan of either of the other ones. So once again, I will go with the Spec of Vote Loki, and
Okay.
I'll kill the Captain. The
Spec
Vote
and
Loki one, I believe, is a Trad Moore cover, and another artist that I really like, and that's why I'm going that one. Obviously, we're going to see Loki again, so from the Spec perspective, maybe that will have some validity. I don't know. Right. I do like the Captain America one, but we'll throw that one out. That's my answers.
All right, final answers. Marrying ASM 294, specking on Vote Loki #1, and burning all new Cap 1. Well, chat, you guys know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat here if you agree with Sleepin's picks. 2s in the chat if you disagree. I mean, these are some books that are, you know, they're books. They're books. I do personally like ASM 294 the most. I think most people would probably agree with that one being kind of the more iconic book to own. So really the question does kind of become, you know, the Vote Loki or all new Cap 1. So I guess it kind of depends on which side of the aisle you like more. But AOA here with the 1, Lindsay with the 1, Carr with the 1, Guardsy with the 1, Zach with the 1, Jonathan with the 2, Circumstance with the 1, Juan with the 1, Origin with the 2, Brandon with the 1, Holden with the 1, Dan with the 1, STT with the 1. So overall, you know, 90% or so. Coma with the late 1. Overall, everyone's kind of feeling you on this one. No love for first issue of Sam Wilson, Captain America. All right. Let's go on now to round number 2, and hopefully this one gets a little more interesting with these ones here. But we have some Bronze Age books here, some Bronze Age books, and ones that were hot and have kind of fallen off a little bit, but you know, still have potential, you know, in the MCU. Of course, the first one here we have ASM Annual number 16, first appearance of Monica Rambeau, you know, Captain Marvel later on in the series. We have Eternals #1, first appearance of Icarus, you know, first issue of the Eternals here. And then we have Miss Marvel #1. This is first Carol Danvers as Ms. Marvel. Spec, Collect, Forget, Sleepin'. How are you feeling with this one? And definitely chat, let us know your picks as well. I'll always love to hear what you guys think.
Okay. I am going to collect Eternals 1. And the only reason why that is because I'm the only person on it. Well, there's 2 people on this planet that like the Eternals movie, myself and my daughter. She's 18. So we are the only 2 humans on the planet that like the Eternals movie. And, we really liked it. And as a father-daughter, you know, it was a good bonding experience for us.
Right.
We both liked that movie. So I'm keeping that one. I also found a 9.6 for $5. And I sold it. So that was one of my better wins in the world. Okay. For Spec, I'm going to pick Monica Rambeau. I mean, I think she's a big character. I think we really liked her in WandaVision. I liked her in WandaVision. I think we're going to see her in a lot of places. Obviously, the next
maybe in Doctor Strange.
I think she's going to be in Secret Invasion. I think we're going to see her. She's awesome. Gotta love Spec. And then we're going to have to throw out Ms. Marvel. But I do. I like her.
No love for Ms. Marvel right there. So we're going to collect Eternals #1, specking on ASM Annual 16, and burning Ms. Marvel #1. Chat, you guys know what to do. 1's in the chat if you agree here. 2's in the chat if you disagree. Yeah, I don't know. Eternals, I like things about it. I also didn't love things about it. It's kind of hit and miss for me, but I'm not ready to like give up completely on, you know, the potential for the Eternals characters like being cool, you know, like remember when we had like Thor, you know, Dark World, and Thor was kind of a lame character, and then it just took the right sort of, you know, circumstances and films to make Thor like the best character ever. Like I genuinely think any of the Eternals characters could sort of do the same thing here. But let's take a look at the chat here. We have a Carr with the 1 here, AOA with the 1, Dan with the 2, Holden with the 2, Origin with the 2, Zach with the 1, Como with the mind blown, Circumstance with the 1, Lindsay with the 2, Guardsy with 2, Brandon with 2, Juan with the 1, STT with the 1. So, you know, mixed take there, 50% or so. You know, I think maybe people, maybe they didn't like Eternals, or you know, maybe they did love Eternals. I don't know how you felt about that, but yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag there. I don't know how you feel about Ms. Marvel, but I feel like that's kind of a cool book as well. I don't know.
Oh, it is. That is a super cool book.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. going on now to round number 3, and it's not going to get any easier here because we have some villain books, some modern villain books here, and one of them is really hot. We got ASM number 361, first appearance of Carnage. We got Thor, God of Thunder number 2, first appearance of Gore the God Butcher. Of course, that's going to be Christian Bale's character coming up soon. And we have Venom number 3, the Donny Cates book, first appearance of Null. You know, obviously Null had that big King in Black crossover storyline here. So we got some modern villain first appearances here. Kind of like, it's like ASM 361. It's like, we already had that. We're getting Thor, Love and Thunder. Maybe one day we're going to build to, you know, some symbiote universe in the Sony world with Null. Spec Collect Forget Sleeping. How are you feeling with this one? In chat, definitely let us know your thoughts.
Tough one. All right, so I'm going to actually, that Venom 3 is a huge book. I love that book. I've got the 1 in 25. I've got the 3rd print. I've got, you know, I've got some crazy. I got a bunch of them. But I'm going to have to spec on Venom 3. I think Noel's coming. I think we all know it. We don't know when. Is he going to be the crossover? Obviously Sony owns the rights. But is it going to be a crossover even with the MCU? That'd be crazy.
I mean, who really knows at this point what's going on there?
Right. So I'm going to spec on that one. I do like Gore the God Butcher, but not that much. So technically, I gotta collect ASM 361. You cannot throw that book away. I mean, come on.
Carnage fan.
Even though we've seen Carnage, the movie wasn't all that great. But that cover and that book is too iconic. So I'm sorry, Gore. You're going to have to go bye-bye.
Burnin' Gore the God Butcher, you know, on the heels of Thor, Love and Thunder. Sleepin says to Gore, Thor, God of Thunder number 2, do you know what happens when lightning strikes a comic book?
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
I remember seeing that movie in the theater.
Is that like the worst hero one-liner that's ever been written in superhero
It's gotta
movies?
Be close.
It's like, it's so bad. And actually, did I just spoil what's going to happen in Thor Love and Thunder? Like, eventually we're going to get a point where Gore the God Butcher gets electrocuted by Thor as he says some stupid line.
I hope not.
All right, well, let's check in with the chat here and see how the people feel you did here. Car with the 1, Guardsy with the 1, Huddle Fan with the 1, Kid Collector with the 1, Holden with the 1, Jay Collector with the 1, Zach with the 1, Origin with the 1, AOA with the 1. Definitely everybody was agreeing with you there. No love for Thor, God of Thunder. I'm surprised. I thought there would have been more people that were excited for, you know, the Christian Bale portrayal, but, you know, maybe there's more Donny Cates fans. I don't know. All right, going on now to round number 4. And I'm going to not do a preamble because I can't remember what's on the slide. And now I do. All right. Well, you know, sometimes we like to kind of mix things up here, Sleeping. We do a lot of Marvel stuff. We're all Marvel fans, but, you know, I like to throw in some other things from time to time. And I felt like we need to do a Star Wars comic book slide. Now, I think you are a Star Wars fan. I think I've seen you actually with some of these books here, but let's talk about these 3 books on the slide. Of course, we have Star Wars Heir to the Empire number 1. That would be the first appearance of Thrawn. We have Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic number 9. I don't know if you ever played KOTOR, but that's the first appearance of Revan. And then we have Star Wars 42, of course, a book that everyone is very familiar with at this point. First appearance of Boba Fett, a book that was pretty hot during the book of Boba Fett. Now, Sleeping, how are you feeling with this one? Spec, Collect, Forget. What are you thinking here with these 3 Star Wars books?
All right. Well, I'm a huge Thrawn fan. I have the crazy 1 in 50 Thrawn back there somewhere, signed or whatever and sketched. But I'm gonna have to spec on Thrawn. He's coming. Well, we already know he's coming because Ahsoka said that, and I think he's gonna be a huge character. So yeah, we're specking on Thrawn, and I just got my that book back from CGC. Sadly, I got like a 9.4 on it. I thought it was like higher. Of course, we always think it's higher.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to keep and collect Star Wars 42. Man, did Book of Boba Fett not treat Boba Fett very well, but I still like that character. And then I'm going to throw out poor Revan.
Poor Revan. No love for Revan there. We'll chat. You guys know what to do here. One's in the chat if you agree. Two's in the chat if you disagree. Now, for me, of all these books, I personally would actually kind of like the Star Wars Knights of the Republic #9 because I played a lot of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It was probably one of my favorite games ever made. So that's definitely a book that, I'm not super into the Star Wars books, but that's a book I like. I also really do like the Thrawn book. I mean, I think you're right. I think it feels like they're like building to like
that's the, obviously the wrong one, right? That's the one that's out of continuity. So it's just that they consider that's the, whatever. Anyways, we won't get into that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Car with the 1 here, Guardsy with the 1, Best Score with the 1, AOA with the 1, Laura with the 1, Zach with the 1, Brand with 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1s across the board. Everyone sleeping. You guys are simpatico with that one there. No love for my Darth Revan, I guess. I don't know. No KOTOR fans out there. All right. Going on now to round number 5. And here we got some of my favorite things to talk about. Of course, villains. I love me some villains. I love me some Silver Age villains. And we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming up. And I kind of noticed, hey, there's a lot of books.
He's never coming. He's never coming.
That sort of relate to Doctor Strange, maybe. They're all kind of around the same price point. Maybe we're ultimately building to one of them. But we got 3 books here, of course. Silver Surfer #3. That, of course, is the first appearance of Mephisto, obviously the character that's going to make an appearance in every single show there is in Marvel. We have Strange Tales #111, first appearance of Baron Mordo, second appearance of Doctor Strange, a book I actually recently traded, if you guys happen to catch my trading video. And Strange Tales #126, first appearance of Dormammu, but also the first appearance of Clea, another kind of rumored character here. So Spec Collect Forget. I don't know how you're feeling about these books right here, Sleeping, but let us know your thoughts in chat. So let us know as well.
Collecting Silver Surfer 3 because I'm a huge Silver Surfer fan. I have that book. I know Mephisto is coming at some point. He's got to be coming at some point. So no, I don't know, but that's a great cover, one of my favorite covers, and I love Silver Surfer. So that may not be everybody else's deal, but I'm taking Mephisto.
Yeah.
We're going to spec on Clea. I mean, I think she's going to come at some point. Obviously, she's supposedly coming, in May. Don't they say like Charlize Theron maybe is the actress? We don't know.
That's the rumor right now.
So that'd be cool. I like her as an actress. So we'll see what happens. That's my spec. And but Dormammu is going to come back. You think about something. Yeah, but we'll have to throw that one out. Got to throw out Strange Tales 1 left.
And we're going to throw out this one.
Yeah.
No. Oh, Dormammu's going by.
I'm sorry, Mordo.
Oh, okay. Mordo's going by. No love for Asbestos Man there. You kind of gave a good reason. You kind of gave these books an out. And all Strange Tales 111 had to do was say that he liked thin little pancakes.
Bon, so what if you just said, I love really thin pancakes? That is a fair compromise, no?
That is a fair compromise. That's very fair, actually.
Okay.
No, because then everyone will know I really meant crepes.
Why do you want me to break your arm so badly?
You don't understand. You don't understand because you don't understand liberty. You don't understand freedom. So you put a crack in my arm like the crack in the Liberty Bell. You hear me?
As you wish.
He actually did it. All right, you did it.
He actually did it. All right. 1's in the chat if you agree here with Sleeping Specs here. 2's in the chat if you disagree. We already got some to look at here. Guardsy with the 1, Car with the 1, Best Score with the 1, Zach with the 2. You can't burn Asbestos Man. Well, he already did. He actually did it. Dan with the 1 here and Laura with the 2. So, kind of a mixed little bag there. Some people feeling it, some people not feeling it. But I'd say overall, people agree with it. So, Silver Surfer 3, one of my favorite books. Obviously, everybody knows that I love Mephisto. I think that book actually was one of the first keys that I identified when I was a kid. I saw it on the wall. I was like, whoa, that book must be special. So that's kind of got a special place in my heart for that one. All right. Going on now.
I got that one a little bit ago, and got the Silver Surfer label with it. So the
That's
label's
awesome.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Going on now to the next round here. We got some DC books. You know, I like to kind of switch things up a little bit. We had some Star Wars stuff. I got to always show DC some love. Now, Sleepyn, I don't know if you're too big of a DC person. I'm not too big of a DC person, but, you know, we like to show some love here. But I got 3 books that I think are really interesting. First up here, we have Hawkman #4. This is the first appearance of Zatanna. Of course, you know, it's kind of rumored, speculated right now that there's going to be a show with her or some kind of movie or something. We got Green Lantern #59, first appearance of Guy Gardner Green Lantern. There's actually a show in development that's going to feature the Guy Gardner appearance. And then we have Aquaman #1. This is the first Aquaman titled book. I do think that there is a first appearance here, but we don't really need to talk about it. But, you know, Spec, Collect, Forget. I don't know if you have any affinity to any of the to any of the DC characters here, but how you feeling on this one? And in chat, definitely let us know what you're thinking as well.
I'm gonna keep the I'm gonna collect the Green Lantern. That's an interesting one. I like Green Lantern. Of all the DC characters, actually, Green Lantern is my favorite. Although, I mean, obviously the core Batman, you know.
Yeah.
And then let's spec on Zatanna, and I'm sorry, Aquaman. But we're going to have to let you go.
Specking on Zatanna and burning first Aquaman series there. Well, chat, let us know what you guys think. 1's in the chat if you agree. 2's in the chat if you disagree. I think this one's really interesting. I mean, it's always interesting to kind of like figure out, you know, the books as I'm kind of lining them up and trying to figure out like, okay, well, what equal in price? And it's interesting to see like where these books sort of settle. I think Aquaman is interesting because, you know, maybe we're going to get that Aquaman sequel. Maybe Jason Momoa is going to like, you know, make an impact. Maybe that pushes that book up. But again, it's not a first appearance. So it does make sense.
I think it's done filming, isn't it? I think it's like wrapped.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is too. So, and I think you might be right to burn it because, you know, these other ones are actual first appearances. Yes. Zatanna, I don't really know too much about her character. I know she's a fan favorite. So that could be really interesting for the future. All right, but checking in the chat here, Car with the 1, we got Guardsy with the 1, Origin with the 1, AOA with the 1, Lindsay with the 1, Brandon with the 1, Zach with the 2, Como with the 1, Laura with the 2. So, you know, kind of similar, actually, almost exactly what we saw last time. I feel like Zach and Laura are simpatico with their feelings on these books because I think they are the outliers with the reactions there. But, you know, kind of interesting thing there. But let's go on now to round number 6. Round number 7. Sorry, guys. Round number 7. We got 3 first appearances of characters that are soon to maybe be big parts in the MCU, although maybe one of them has sort of lost his opportunity in the eyes of fans. But of course, we have ASM number 101, hottest movie that there's been in the last couple months. Of course, we had Morbius, the first appearance of Morbius, and this book has been, you know, definitely plummeting a little bit, but now that ironically is kind of lined up with these other 2 here. We have Avengers number 48. This is the first appearance of Black Knight. Of course, Dane Whitman kind of make his appearance as the Black Knight character eventually. He was in Eternals, but he wasn't, you know, the Black Knight persona. And then we have Thor 165, first full appearance of him, aka Adam Warlock, the book people tend to feel like is the number 1 Adam Warlock book. Spec, Collect, Forget. How are you feeling with this one? I don't know if you saw Morbius and if that tainted your feeling towards these books right here, but let us know what you think, Sleepyn.
I did not see it. Man, I like that cover and I like that book, but from a spec perspective, let's roll with Dane Whitman. Interesting note, a friend of mine has a 9.8 of that book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's had it forever. So what a crazy one to have, right?
Is he specking on it though? Is he waiting for that?
He's like a massive, like, I think he also might have like a 9.8 Hulk 181. Like,
oh wow,
he is a crazy collector. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So but always fun, you know, crazy books. Okay, so then I'm going to I'm specking, right? So I'm gonna spec on Adam Warlock, who's a cool character. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I'm going to throw out Spider-Man and Morbius, which is as difficult as it is.
Wait, so putting the ring on.
Oh yeah,
Adam Warlock there.
So I'm collecting that one. I'm collecting Adam Warlock, who I do like. So
collecting Adam Warlock.
Then we'll throw out poor Morbius.
Throwing out Morbius.
I like that. I
No,
like that book.
no love for Morbius there. We'll chat. You guys know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you think Sleepyn got it right here. 2s in the chat if you think he got it wrong. I think that when Kevin Feige saw Morbius this past week, he definitely sent Blade over to Jared Leto's house and probably went a little something like this.
Want anything done right, you got to do it yourself.
Can you blush?
Is that the third one?
That's the second one.
Oh, that's the second one.
Kind of an underrated
No, that's
one.
not the second. It's the third one.
Isn't it? No, I feel like Ron Perlman is in the second one. No.
It's the third one.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's the third one. The second one is where he fights the kind of weird vampires that are all whack. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't. Chat. Help us out here. You guys let us know. But I
think
feel
it's
like
the third one, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, going through old Wesley Snipes Blade clips, I was just like, man, Wesley Snipes was so awesome as Blade. So awesome.
Yeah.
All right, checking in with the chat here. We got one with the Laura here with the 1, Car with the 1, Zach with the 1, Juan with the 1, Feder with the 2, Guardzu with the 2, AOA with the 1, Brandon with the 1, Dan with the 1, Origin with the 1, STT with the 1, Blade 2, third. Okay, we even have
Blade 2. They fight in a club. That's the opening scene, right?
Yeah, I'm not really. I thought it was number 2, but hey, doesn't really
whatever.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but again, it is interesting. I feel like the brand of Morbius has really been hurt over that film, and it is really interesting how talk about Eternals too. There was actually a moment where I feel like the brand of Eternals was hurt so bad, like you could get some of those books for less than you could have even gotten them for like years ago. So kind of an interesting thing to talk about, as well as we get more characters in films and things like that. All right. Going on now to round number 8. Spec, Collect, Forget. We got some modern grails, some big modern grails. We talked about one of them, the NFT version of it, but I don't know if these other ones have NFT comics yet. Certainly the DC one doesn't. But we have 3 modern grails here. We have ASM number 300. Of course, this is the first full appearance of the character known as Venom, the classic Todd McFarlane art, a cover that everybody loves, has been homaged so many times. We have Ultimate Fallout number 4, of course, first appearance of Miles Morales Spider-Man, probably the most expensive modern Marvel comic there is. And then we have Batman Adventures number 12, another expensive grail here. This is the first appearance of Harley Quinn, so kind of a DC, modern grail as well. Spec, Collect, Forget. How are you feeling with these 3 characters here, Sleepyn? I think it's really interesting because as I was looking at the values, I'm like, these all kind of hover close to the same time.
Ultimate Fallout 4 because I'm such a huge Miles fan. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably not.
Collecting Miles.
And then I'll spec on Venom, even though his movies have not been very good, but also a huge Venom fan. This is probably very biased towards my fandom here. And then we'll have to throw out Harley Quinn.
Ooh, yeah. Definitely a Marvel homer, I guess you would call it here. Definitely someone who loves Marvel comics more than DC comics. No love for Margot Robbie and, the Batman animated show. Spec, Collect, Forget. You guys know what to do. 1's in the chat if you agree here. 2's in the chat if you disagree. I can't totally disagree with your picks here because I also am more into, Marvel personally. But I do have a fondness for that Batman animated show, and that definitely that one definitely gives me the member berries. Interesting that you went with Ultimate Fallout 4. I would have thought you would maybe pick ASM 300, but
I haven't answered.
Go either way here.
I'm lucky to have some of these books, so that's
fair enough. All right, checking in with the chat here. Car with the 1, AOA with the 2, Origin with the 1, Guardzu with the 1, Marvel Decoded with the 2, Lindsay with the 1.5, not really sure. Dan with an absolute 1, clap, 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 clap. Como with the Here Comes the Rage. There may be some fans out there for Harley Quinn, but obviously they're not playing the game. It is Sleepyn's picks, and we're gonna have to send Batman Adventures down with Mephisto there. All right. Coming on now, 2 more rounds. You've made it through so far, 8 hot seat filled rounds, but we're not out of the woods yet. Spec, Collect, Forget. I had to pick
some major Grail villains, because I love to do villains. So I like to have some villain slides. And we have some rogue gallery for Spider-Man. Some of the biggest Spider-Man villains there are in all of his repertoire of villains. But we have ASM number 2 here. This is the first appearance of Vulture. Incidentally, this is also the third appearance of Spider-Man. We have ASM number 3, which is the first appearance of Dr. Octopus. Fourth appearance of Spider-Man, I guess, if you want to credit it as the fourth appearance of Spider-Man. And we have ASM 14 here, first appearance of the Green Goblin. So Spec, Collect, Forget. How are you feeling about this one, Sleepyn? I almost wonder, like, you can come at this with a logical sensibility, or you can think of it in terms of like just what villain you personally like the most. Chat, let us know what you guys think as well for this one.
Man, this is rough. All right. Because there's no way you can trash any of these books. We're going to collect ASM 3 because I love that cover and I love Doc Ock. So we're going to collect that. We are going to spec on the Vulture because Michael Keaton is here, and they're going to get him going in some way, shape, or form. So
spec
and
on
then
Vulture.
we're gonna have to throw out the Green Goblin.
Wow,
which is rough, but that's, I don't know. That's what I'm going with.
One of them had to be burned. You know how it is. The problem is that as you were talking to ASM 3, it's ASM 3. It's like you already have a father, right? But when the Green Goblin is trying to be your father, it's just you have one, and that one is called Ben Parker.
Be a son to me now.
I have a father. His name was Ben Parker.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Oh.
Don't tell Harry.
Don't tell Harry.
Don't tell Harry, man. Don't tell Harry, and don't tell the chat here, because we got to check in with some of these.
Not like my pick.
So let's take a look at the chat here. AOA with the 1, so starting off good, but Guardsy with the 2, Guardsy with the double 2. Yeah, I don't know if you can vote twice. Carr with the 2, Guardsy with the third 2, voting 3 times. T Dot with the 2, Zach with the 2, Como with the this is blasphemy. T Dot with the 2. Go with the 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. T Dot with the 2, and with the 2. Dan with the, I think it's past Sleepy's bedtime.
Dan, I think you're right.
I definitely think the whole chat, when they saw you burn the Green Goblin, their reaction was a little something like this.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Who's got crazy books is Dan. That Dan.
Oh, Dan's got some great books.
Amazing collection.
Absolutely. Chat, I'm curious to know too, like, what would you guys have burned here? I feel like maybe people don't like Vulture. I think maybe Vulture would be the one.
People don't like Vulture. Okay.
But it is the third Spider-Man. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say with those ones.
That was tough.
Right. Well, going on now to the final round, it's not getting any easier. We did some big Grail villains, and of course, we have to do some more Grails, superheroes, and one villain. We got Spec, Collect, Forget, the final round. 3 major Grail books. First up, Fantastic Four number 5. Of course, that is the first appearance of Doctor Doom. We have Journey into Mystery number 83, first appearance of Thor, and Tales of Suspense number 39, first appearance of Iron Man. Spec, Collect, Forget. What are you feeling on these ones here? Some big Grail books here. Incidentally, all around the same price point. And of course, chat, let us know what you guys would pick as well.
All right. I'm going to have to collect Tales of Suspense. I'm a big Iron Man fan. I do like Thor a lot too, but we'll collect Tales of Suspense 39, TOS 39. It's on my list. I actually want to get that book, but obviously super expensive. So I gotta find some money. Maybe I can sell some NFTs, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to spec on Dr. Doom, another book that I really, really wanted to get this past year. I did spend that money on NFTs. Once again, more hate from your chat. Just being honest. Wow.
Diversify.
Right. No, I'll get it eventually. And unfortunately, Thor, man.
Wow.
Man, this is rough. All
the
right.
hammer is coming down
Bye,
on Thor. Goodbye.
This is
Burning
scary.
Thor right there.
We need to erase.
You know,
We need to erase this part of the video.
yeah, well, you know, there's no wrong answers, and that's the thing. That's the game. You have to pick one. So we are marrying Tales of Suspense 39, first appearance of Iron Man. We're specking on Fantastic Four, number 5, first appearance of Doctor Doom. Of course, you know, Doom, the next probably big bad in the MCU, and we're gonna burn Journey into Mystery 83. Well, chat, you guys, of course, know what to do here. 1's in the chat if you agree, 2's in the chat if you disagree. How are you feeling here? I mean, this one is a tough one. I mean, when I was putting this together, I was like, you can't go wrong, really, with this one. You can't go wrong. Maybe there's the superhero bias. I don't really know, but like, you know, specking on Doom is so huge. But it's really interesting to, you know, prepare these slides and think about how all these book values are kind of around that same price point.
JIM 83 is a hard one to find. I mean, I obviously look for a low grade. It's hard to find, and one that's just not completely trashed. So like most of my low grade ones, like my Incredible Hulk, is low grade, but it actually looks really good. That's what I'm trying to do. And I was not able to find a reasonable JIM 83. And it's rough. It's a rough book.
All right, well, let's check in with the chat here and see what they had to say. Carr with the 1 here, AOA with the 1, Coma with the fire. Let's see here. We have Zach with the 2, Grady with the 1.5, Origin with the 2, Dan with the 1, Lindsay with the 2, T-Dot with the 2, Caleb with the 2, but no easy answer. So, you know, definitely a mixed bag there, but at the same time, it's like there's no right answers here. I mean, you know, we got a lot of people that said 1, some people said 2. Again, it's hard to say with these ones because, you know, this is the ultimate grail, and eventually you got to burn one of them right there. Well, Sleepin', we made it through 10 rounds of Spec, Collect, Forget. You sat in the hot seat. I think overall you did very, very well. The people definitely were feeling, I'd say, more of your picks than not. Maybe a miss or 2 in there, but hey, that's the game. I always think to myself, if I was playing this game, I probably would get 2s all day because I know what I would pick. But, you know, again, Sleepin', thank you so much for playing this and being in the hot seat.
Thanks. That was great. Hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too badly.
No, absolutely not. There's no wrong answers in this. I mean, this is the point. I mean, I feel like, again, I always say, like, when I prepare these slides and I think about, like, and I see everyone putting 1s and 2s and stuff, I always think, like, oh man, like I genuinely feel like I would pick all of the wrong answers in this one right here.
Yeah, some of those are hard, man.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard, and it's cool because it's like they're all, generally speaking, they're all the same value from what I can kind of, you know, suss out when I'm preparing them. So it's like, you know, you can't really go wrong. I mean, in those picks right there. But anyways, that is all we have for the show tonight, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into the chat and hanging out with us here. Sleepin', really appreciate you coming on. It was great to, you know, have this conversation with you. Definitely, maybe you can let the people know, like, where they can kind of find you if they're curious about, you know, NFTs and VEVE. I definitely think that you are the channel to watch. And no joke, even if you guys don't like that, obviously, I mean, Sleepy knows a lot about comic books too. So you can get some really good collecting insight from his channel. But hey, I'll let you put it in your own words. Maybe you can let people know where to find you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun. Sleepyn Comics. I have a YouTube channel. Instagram is Sleepyn Comics and Twitter is Sleepyn Comics. It's funny. I think I had a Twitter account that I set up, you know, years ago under Sleepyn Comics, but I really only started using it because most of the NFT and crypto world uses Twitter, whereas most of the comic book world seems to use Instagram. And so I have both. So, and DM me if you have any questions. Definitely, I'll do my best to help you out.
Absolutely. Well, I put a link to his socials in the description, I believe. So definitely go over to, you know, those, give him a follow, give him a shout. But thank you all again so much for watching. And hey, we will see you all in the next stream. Peace out, guys.